Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So this time around with the Reapers event, I know I'm a little late, we have Tomb of the Nine Gods. So I'm going to go through the dungeon and all of its mechanics that you should know to be able to complete it. This dungeon is one of the epic ones, so definitely has a good few more mechanics than you would normally see in a regular dungeon. So this should help you if you just want to normally get through the Tomb of the Nine Gods. The only thing with the Reapers challenge to keep in mind is you won't be able to use your mount combat power, you won't be able to use your health potions, and you won't be able to regen that health when you're out of combat. So initially when you jump into this dungeon, you're already set with a task. You need to find the first entrance to proceed on in the dungeon. Now one of the pathways is correct and you have 3 of them. What you need to look for is this stone mask on the wall. If you see the stone mask, that is the direction you need to head in, and you'll just kill those UNT snake enemies along with their bandit friends, and then you'll continue on. You'll kill this initial group of mobs by the respawn campfire and then head through this rotating doorway. You'll enter this large hall, the trickster gods, and you're going to have to go to the center and you'll see this large sarcophagus. Now to the left and the right and also just ahead, you will see at the base of the sarcophagus this symbol on the ground. What you need to do is have a look at that symbol, memorize it, and then proceed in that direction up the steps and go and interact with the sarcophagus that had that symbol. You'll see those big symbols on the walls then for each of those sarcophagus, each one having a particular section. Now you can generally do this without luring the ads, the mobs that are wandering around this area, but at some point you'll have to kill a bunch of them. So when you finally go and interact with the 3rd sarcophagus, you'll see on the far end there the doorway will open up, and that's where you'll have to head out of here. That's the first room kind of puzzle, and if you don't solve it, you can't proceed onwards. So then we continue, and the tank ideally needs to proceed through that rotating doorway first, because there are these ghosts which will basically stun you and drain your life over time. You need DPS to kill them quick enough. I do go as the tank, but for some reason they don't attack me, potentially because I went with my shield up. Anyway, you'll continue and you'll proceed down these steps, and you'll get to another respawn campfire, another rotating door, but this time you'll have a puzzle to get through. This is where you'll see there's a little stone table with a whole bunch of colored potions, and then those platforms either side. Now what you're going to either need to do is drink those potions or simply continue on, head into this trap, trigger it, and continue on from there. I'll explain what happens if you do go through the trap, but initially if you want to go and solve this mechanic, what you'll need to do is somebody will need to go and drink that potion, and then your teammates will have to tell you what color you look like. You will see once you've drunk the potion that yes, you will basically turn into one of those animals that you'll see around you, and you're going to have to go according to what your teammates tell you and sit on top of the corresponding animal that matches you. You can either match by animal or color, and once you do so, then you'll get a poof, and then you go and drink another potion, and you keep doing this till all the potions are gone. However, if you head through the trap, you will see that you'll get either one of the 3 traps. Our first time around, we just got a trap which is fairly simple. You're just going to have to head through a bunch of rooms and kill a bunch of enemies. Continue on until you get to the ladder and head up it and continue on with the dungeon. I'll explain the other 2 traps when we get to them, along with the other puzzles. Now you'll continue on from here and you'll see a large chamber. Now you'll either head left or right. Generally just like to head right there and start killing off the enemies at the groups of these pedestals. What you can do is interact with those lecterns after you've killed the mobs, and they'll give you somewhat of a clue. This is what we needed to do when we first ran the dungeon for the very first time, and if you go in blindly. Otherwise you just kill those groups of mobs, each one of them, there's 3 of them, and then you'll get to where you'll have to encounter the boss. But beforehand, you're going to have to go and pick up one of the curses. You'll see there's these 3 little pedestals, and you'll have to interact with each one of them before you can counter the boss. Now, you can only interact with one of them, and your teammates will have to interact with the others. Now the one on the left will give you temporary hit points like I do, nearly 2000% of your hit points in temporary hit points, so that's a massive shield. However, you cannot be healed, which nothing gets past this shield, so no big deal. Then the middle one will give you extra damage against zombies. Now this isn't the boss. The zombies will spawn on the outside and attempt to swarm you, but they die anyway, even if a DPS doesn't take this. So what you do is the healer takes the middle one, because you will also take a penalty to your damage against the boss with that one. Then on the very right, your highest DPS in the group ideally wants to take it. It will allow you to deal more damage against the boss. I'm not sure exactly how much, but you will also take damage over time. So make sure the healer's there to keep you healed while you're just standing there trying to enter the boss. And then you can interact with it and group up and enter the boss fight. Here, much like Orcus, he'll pretty much look exactly the same. He has a bunch of different attacks. None of them are too challenging. However, he does have this really annoying red cone that he'll put down, and he'll put it down randomly. If you get hit by it, you literally just get pushed into the gutter on the outside of the arena, and then the zombies will come and you'll aggro them, and then they'll follow you to the boss, and that's where you need the zombie killer to kill them off. But regular DPS can generally kill them very easily, so that's not a big deal. Now the big mechanic with this boss is these orbs that will spawn on the outside. Now the person who's took all that temporary hit points needs to intercept these orbs. As a tank, it's very easy. I can just hold up my shield, walk into the orb, and it only takes 100,000 damage, so I can lose 0 temporary hit points by doing that. Periodically through the fight, you'll get more and more of those orbs spawning, and as the person who's took that temporary hit points, your job is to intercept those balls. If you do not intercept a ball, it will move to that person and instantly kill them if they don't have the temporary hit points. So just watch out for that. Otherwise, the fight's fairly straightforward and you'll proceed on from there. Now you'll continue on, you'll descend down another whole flight of steps, but this time you'll just encounter somewhat of a mini boss. He'll just teleport around a bit annoyingly and go and spawn lots of little ads. You'll just kill him, it shouldn't be a big deal there, and then you'll proceed on through the doorway. Here you'll just kill a bunch more of those undead enemies, continuing on again to another one of those puzzles. This time, however, you'll have 6 of these pedestals with these artifacts floating above them. Now you're going to have to interact with each of those artifacts in a certain sequence. A very easy way to do it is if the artifact says hidden, those are the first artifacts that you're going to have to interact with in the sequence. There are these manipulate artifacts. Those are the last 2 artifacts in the sequence. So it's very easy. You just interact with all of the hidden ones first, find which one's the first, then the second, then the third, and then the fourth is already self-explanatory because there are only 4 hidden ones, and then it's a guess between which of the manipulate ones. If you get it right, you've solved the trap. However, you can just simply walk through the door. And if you do so, you will trigger a trap. This time around, we got this puzzle where you're going to have these 3 different rooms, and in each room you're going to have these little platforms on the ground that you can't pass between, so you're going to have to head through them, and 2 out of the 3 will have these glowing masks, and they'll teleport you to the beginning of the room again. It can be quite annoying. What you can also do is if you have like a VIP, you can pop down your bank, you can pop down your mailbox, and those will also trigger those masks to appear before actually walking over them. So that's a neat trick, and you just have to head through 3 of those rooms and figuring out which is the pathway through those masks. First, they're invisible until you run into them. Now, as soon as you head through that rotating door, you want to head left. You want to make sure that you don't actually cross over between what it would be the rope bridge, because you'll just trigger a skull and that'll be annoying. You can see here I'm navigating just as quickly as possible to the left around that tree, and then you'll jump down into this pit. Here you'll have to fight a bunch of mini dinosaurs, and then these larger ones will appear. You'll get 3, and once you've killed those, you'll get another 3. You might even get one with a hunt mark, and once you've just killed those groups of enemies, you head on again, getting through another door, killing a bunch of enemies, and heading through another door again. This time you will get to another big flight of stairs, which you'll just head down, you'll interact with the door, and you'll come to another puzzle area. Now, if you've watched an older video on this dungeon, you will know that there's a mimic shell game where you'll have to basically find out which mimic to talk to because they'll jump around. But that's been removed, unfortunately, and now we just have a copy and paste of the first puzzle where you'll just have the potions to drink, the 6 different pedestals with those animals. Now, you could do it, or you could just head through the doorway again and trigger the trap. And this time around, you can see the ceiling collapses, and we're going to have to lift these stones away from the exit and just keep doing that. Whenever you pick up a stone, you're really slow. You need to walk to the stone pile and drop the stone there, pick up another one, and so on and so forth until all the stones are put away, and then you can continue. Then you'll just get 2 cutscenes as you head down this area, and then you'll go and head to the left, and there'll be these 3 groups of mobs. 2 of the groups will be wandering around. You're just going to have to kill them all, and then you can finally go and confront the second boss. Now, you're very near the end of the dungeon here, but this boss can be very tricky if you don't have a lot of damage. You can see I'm running with a group of just me and 2 DPS, and this was mainly just to see the mechanics and see if we could actually run the dungeon. Now we do so, and yeah, it's fairly straightforward, but you're going to have to play the mechanics. Now, this boss, you're just destroying this Withers control station in the center. What you will see in this boss fight is this red area will appear around the control center, and you just want to move out of that. If you stay in it, you'll just get pushed away from the middle, and it's just a bit annoying. You'll also see a red area might appear on somebody, and this big hand will come down and basically knock you over if you're not the tank. And otherwise, you need to watch out for this hand that might appear and grab somebody. That person won't be able to do anything, and they'll take damage over time. Otherwise, this Wither guy, he will go and cause these different terrain effects around you. You have 4 different mechanics there. You have either the area will fill with poison gas and you'll take lots of damage over time, or the area will fill with water on the ground, slowing your movement and draining your stamina. And then you also have this lightning which can appear and it will apply partial paralysis. So you'll basically every 10 seconds or so like freeze up and not be able to use any actions. This can be very annoying if you're trying to revive somebody because it'll just keep interrupting it. And then you might get these flamethrowers from just on the edges there of the arena. And they'll just spew out fire and kind of sway left and right, just moving that fire around the place. Can deal lots of damage over time. Now, these effects can all stack up on top of each other. That's where this becomes a big troubling thing. Now, what you might have to do then is, like you can see me here, is head up the steps and go and kill those dwarves that are in those chambers. Those dwarves are basically fueling the Wither for his contraption. So once you've killed them, that certain trap will end. You will only get those dwarves appearing, those tomb dwarves, when a trap has been triggered. There are certain dwarves that will spawn depending on which mechanic. For example, when you head through the doorway, on the near right you will have the water dwarf, on the near left you'll get the fire one, on the far right you'll get the toxic gas one, and on the far left you'll get the lightning one. So if that mechanic does appear, you can memorize which direction you need to head depending on the doorway which you went through and which dwarf then you can kill. Now, if you do have a very good group of DPS, you can generally burn through this boss quicker than all of those mechanics can appear, and thus you won't have too much trouble just killing this boss. You defeat his tower and then you destroy him. He doesn't generally have much hit points. Then you'll head through the doorway out of this arena and you'll just have to kill a bunch of enemies. Now once you've killed those bunch of enemies, you'll head up these little steps and into this area where you'll see a whole bunch of these dwarves with glowing eyes. You can simply just ignore them, make sure you have no damage effects, or you can do like I do, like a bit stupidly, and aggro them all. If you do so, then yeah, be prepared to kill all those dwarves. There's a whole ton of them, and you can easily get swarmed if you don't have any stuns, knockbacks, so on. And you'll finally get to the last boss. Here you'll have to interact with a floating disc and group up for the final boss, Rasnisi. It's the same boss that you would get with the crocodile intro or weekly quest from doing Chult. So here you'll encounter him, and he's a large UNT on this platform. The initial mechanic he's going to do is he's going to charge up his sword and spin it. You ideally want to hold up your shield or dodge away with that because it'll give you this partial paralysis, and then he'll like teleport to one of the four corners of the area and cause this large red area. You ideally want to again avoid this since it will cause armor break on you. It will basically increase the amount of damage you take. If you have tons of temporary hit points still left, like you can see I do, you probably don't need to worry about this, but if you're going to be attempting this boss multiple times, it's best you conserve those temporary hit points, especially if you're a newer tank. These temporary hit points can easily make this fight very nice and easy. Otherwise, Rasnisi does have a large overarching sword strike. You'll see his sword will glow and he'll go and smash you. This will cause a burn over time and can absolutely destroy a DPS. It is an area of an effect, so if you're amongst the DPS while he does this, the DPS will also get smashed. So just watch out, make sure you're in front of the boss and everybody's behind the boss. Otherwise the boss will keep teleporting around and you'll get this one mechanic where this massive ghost will appear on one side of the platform. This platform is a rectangle, so it'll be either on one of those longer ends, and this ghost will come and it'll appear up. What you need to do is run to the other side of the platform. What will happen is the ghost will push down on that side of the platform, causing it to tip, and you will slide down the platform. And if you're not far enough away from where the ghost was, you'll slide off the platform. Originally, you would just be completely dead if this happened. You'd be out of the fight. But now you'll just respawn back in the middle of the platform in the down state. So somebody will have to pick you up or you can scroll. Another big mechanic is Rasnisi will basically cause this soulmonger charge. He'll cause these souls to appear. There's these white ghostly things along with a bunch of these skeletal spearmen. Lots of ads. So what you need to do as a tank, ideally have some area taunts, aggro those spearmen, and then the DPS need to focus on those souls. If you do not kill those souls quick enough, you'll all end up dying. What will happen for every soul you fail to destroy, you'll see that you'll increase that soulmonger charge. Then at some point, Rasnisi will become untargetable. You'll see all your damage will be doing zeros, and Rasnisi will go and let out a big burst of damage. Now, if the soulmonger charge is full here, you'll all just be dead, and that'll be game over. You'll lose the fight. If it's not full, you'll just take some damage, and then the soulmonger charge will deplete to zero again, and then you'll just continue fighting the boss. You'll get regularly those soul phases where you're not going to have to kill them. This is the most challenging part for this dungeon. If you don't have enough damage to kill those souls quick enough, then you just keep dying on this boss and there's nothing you can do about it. You don't necessarily need loads of damage over time on the boss. Just make sure you save up your encounter powers and your daily powers and even your mount combat powers for those souls to make sure they're dead. If they're not dead, again, you just all will wipe as soon as that bar is full, once he goes immune and does that damage power again. Otherwise, if you get him to 0 HP, the ghost will push him off the platform, and then that will be it. GG. You'll go and win this thing. You'll get your Reaper's Mark if you're doing the Reaper's Challenge, or you'll be able to access your 2 chests there. You'll actually have a third, but that'll just have some currency for the Chult campaign. The 2 chests, one of them's for free, and the other one you'll need a key, again from the Chult campaign, the very first part there, so it's very easy to get that key. You can just farm your merchant prince's folly for the currency. So again, hopefully this has been somewhat helpful to you guys if you're wanting to run the Tomb of the Nine Gods there. It can be quite a complex dungeon, especially when you don't have a lot of damage. The more damage you have in your party, the more mechanics you can literally just ignore in this fight. So with that, I'd like to give a massive thank you to all of my channel members for helping me keep my channel going. And if I presented this well, consider leaving the video a like. And if you're new around here, consider subscribing. And we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.